Good evening. Welcome to Insights, Newcastle University's Public Lectures programme. I'm Martin Farr, I'm co-chair of the Public Lectures Committee. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you to the latest in our spring programme. Could I ask you please to ensure your phones are in a silent mode? That includes notifications, thank you. I'm not expecting a fire alarm, so in the event of you hearing one, please join us in the car park outside. You can hashtag us in your tweets as InsightsNCL, and you can find us at InsightsNCL. And could I direct you also to our archive, where we have hundreds of archives, including every year when we mark LGBT History Month. So please see our previous lectures going back sort of 10 years in some cases. Our chair for today's lecture, and who will be chairing and handling the questions and comments after the lecture, is Dr. Gareth Longstaff, who is the new Director of EDI for the Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences and Humanities. Gareth, please.
Hello, everybody. It's nice to see a lot of familiar faces here tonight. And just before I introduce Stef Dickers, I'll just give you a brief overview of kind of my role, really, and particularly this point in the academic or social calendar, LGBT History Month. We've been, privileged and able to have a space as part of the Insights lecture series for about 8 to 10 years now as part of LGBT History Month. And that's in conjunction with an alignment to the establishment, really, of a staff and predominantly PGR, but it also does include our undergraduate and postgraduate taught students, LGBTQ+ rainbow network within the institution, within the university. And that's seen a real shift, I think, in terms of just the kind of fabric, the contours of LGBTQ+ life, both within the campus, how we work, how we interact on a daily basis here, and also, what we do beyond the campus. That kind of segs me perfectly into the kind of the friendship, I guess, professional as well as personal, that I've developed over the last decade or so with Stef Dickers. And I'm delighted to have Stef today here to talk about his work at Bishopsgate, particularly as the largest LGBTQ+ archive in the UK. And Stef's going to give a really good kind of overview and or summary of that. But in my own work as well, my day-to-day job, I'm a senior lecturer in media and cultural theory, and I work around the kind of possibility and the contours of the queer archive and what that means, what that can be, how archival spaces work, and the possibilities of how, as LGBTQ+ citizens, we can work with public histories, we can work with personal histories, we can work with personal narratives to think about how that kind of informs, the broader social, cultural, economic political sphere. So Stef is, on that, the Special Collections and Archives Manager at Bishopsgate, which is in London. And he's been responsible for the development of the Institute's collections on the history of London, protest and activism, and of course, LGBTQ+ Britain. Stefan is a pivotal and an inspirational figure who's cultivated a political, an inclusive, and a queer space at Bishopsgate that makes us really consider crucial, very urgent and salient issues such as community, safety, trust, affirmation and empowerment, both inside and beyond the archival space. Stef qualified as an archivist in 2001 and started at Bishopsgate almost 20 years ago in 2005. I feel like this is your life, isn't it? And before this, Stef worked in the archives of the London School of Economics and Senate House Library. So without further ado, Stef Dickers.
Hi all. I always love getting a round of applause before I've done anything. I might be absolutely rubbish. Tough, because you're stuck. I think they've locked the doors. So yes, thank you so much. I can't believe so many of you turned up to listen to a talk on archives. It's great. It makes me very excited and very pleased. So before I go on, I've got to say a quick thanks to Newcastle University for looking after me so well. I've never been so well looked after, so I am happy to come back every week to do this talk again and again. And a couple of apologies. I don't know if any of you have been to Bishopsgate. I always do this first off. Anyone been? 2, 3, 1 at the back. Have you heard me speak before? Oh no, because it's the same jokes every time. Second time, it's very, very boring. And also I do go on, so Gareth, please stop me if I am rabbiting on. But what I want to do to talk to you tonight is thank Gareth for sort of intellectualising my talk a bit, because really what I want to do is talk you through what we have at Bishopsgate and the ideas behind it and how my thought processes have worked as I've been at Bishopsgate over the years. And maybe we can sort of have a discussion about that afterwards, but I came to Bishopsgate wanting to collect slightly differently than what I'd seen before. As so wonderfully pointed out, I did qualify as an archivist in 2001. I have colleagues now who weren't born when I qualified as an archivist. When I started at the Institute in 2005, I had hair and no beard. But those of you who don't know the Institute, it's this incredible building on Bishopsgate that's been there over 130 years. Quite wonderfully set up by the church across the road. But no, let me explain. The church basically receiving money from rich people over about 500 years. I'm about to die, I realised I'd maybe not the life I said I was going to lead. Here's some money, give coals to the poor at Christmas. Thank you very much. In the late 19th century, it was told to do something philanthropic with the money. Thankfully for us, quite a radical educationalist vicar there who set up the Institute as a working people's cultural centre, with the ethos of being about openness and accessibility. He was a vicar, but decided it shouldn't be a religious building. And this will come back to this as well as we talk through. This is us now with a sort of slightly pretty David Beckham look-alike walking past. Everyone likes that. I normally get the question, does he go in? Can I come and see him? No, he doesn't, unfortunately. But yeah, a wonderful space. And as you can see, we fly the flag proudly. We're not hiding who we are. We're proud about what we do at Bishopsgate Institute. And just to make you jealous, I get to work in here every day. This is still what it looks like now. Victorian Grade 2 listed, wonderful, wonderful library. A lot of people come in and go, oh, doesn't it smell like a library? I think that's good, I'm not quite sure. But it still looks like this. You can come in and access the space, an incredible space just to come and visit anyway. But when I started at the Institute in 2005, they'd never had an archivist before. And they didn't quite know what to do. They were like, where's the Institute going to go? What are we going to collect? What's going to happen? Little did they know what would happen. When I turned up, it was a lovely family history, London history venue. Previous librarians had amassed big collections on London history, Labour history, but they basically gave me free rein. And though I call this talk Adventures of an Archivist, it could possibly also be called What Happens When You Give an Archivist Far Too Much Freedom Without Any Control Whatsoever. Because as we've mentioned, we are now the largest LGBTQ+ archive in the UK. Something I'm very proud of having achieved. It's not an accident. And I think as we talk through some of the ways that we collect, this is what's happened. We only started collecting LGBTQ+ history in 2011. So this has been a huge, quick turnaround. I had worked in LGBTQ+ archives before I came to the Institute. Thought I'd never do it again. Very sad, you know, I will have my chance. But at Bishopsgate in 2011, I got the chance to start collecting there. When I got an email from a group called the Lesbian and Gay News Media Archive. And they were an archive run by a group of volunteers out in Middlesex University. They were being booted out. And they said, Stef, we've decided we're coming to live with you at the Bishopsgate Institute. I was like, could have asked first. They said, it's only a small archive, won't take up much room. As the 14th filing cabinet came off the lorry, I was like, you lying. But an incredible archive. It's an archive of 350,000 press cuttings from the straight press about British LGBTQ+ history, from the Victorian era through to the modern day. It's every subject you would ever imagine, put together by a group called the Campaign for Homosexual Equality in the 70s, who basically said, we need to record what's being said about the community, to combat it, to fight it, to be aware. So they started gathering cuttings, they went through old cuttings, started collecting going forward. They were funded in the 1980s by organisations like the Greater London Council when it did amazing things for LGBT rights. And it's now this huge collection divided into every subject you could imagine. Politics, activism, but also music, theatre, dance, clubbing. There's a folder for every county in England. So if you want to come and research queer history in Newcastle, come down, there's a nice big folder. I love it, people come in and go, let's see your Devon file, then there won't be much in there. I grew up in Devon, I was the only guy, and they're like, oh my God, why did I not know? Why did I not know? Files on London, sorry, there is, to be Londonist, and files on people, and that'll be people who've been very active in the community for various reasons, activism, culture, etc. The second most used collection we have at the Institute was rejected by another archive that shall remain nameless, LSE, basically because it's really important. They thought, oh, it'll all be online at some point, we won't need it. But it's important for a couple of reasons. It's press cuttings, there's lots of databases you can get. But the important thing about this collection, something I've realised over the time I've been working with it, is it's a community archive, and the fact it was put together by people from the community is really, really important. Where they went back through all the old press cuttings don't mention words like homosexual, lesbian, not even getting to transgender, etc. The fact that someone's gone back and looked through and gone, this story, 2 women running off into the sunset, holding hands and skipping, leaving their husbands. Man camping up in Piccadilly in women's clothes. This is not going to be done by someone being paid minimum wage in a factory, put it online for a resource. But also, as we come in, most of the stuff I will talk about and show you today is post-1967. I'm sure I don't have to explain to you why. Sexual Offences Act. One of the banes of my life is media companies get in contact. We're doing a groundbreaking documentary on queer RAF pilots in the Second World War. Have you got colour digital film footage of RAF fighter pilots camping it up? No. Oh, we were sort of relying on that. So there's not a lot of documentation prior to this time. I wish there was. But this is one way we can look into the community prior to 1967, even it is through a straight gaze. So an incredibly important collection. And this basically gave me the option to start collecting at the Institute. But I thought I'd show you a couple of corkers, because as I say, it runs right from the Victorian period through to the modern day, and you can always rely on the Sun, I find, to give a very accurate depiction of LGBT life. Oh, you should read the story. It's great. And it just goes on like this. If you come away from one thing from this, how to spot a possible homo. I have a suspicion we might be all right in here. I don't know why. This is 1963, in lights of lots of spy scandals going on, civil servants being blackmailed to give away secrets because of their sexuality, and the Sunday Mirror very compassionately publishes this article by Lionel Crane. He obviously did his research, not the most scientific article in the world, should we say, full of stereotypes. Starts off with they could be anyone or could be anywhere. Not a good start, really. But luckily, Lionel, if I can get my point, managed to divide gay men into 2 types, the obvious and the concealed. Now, the obvious gay man is those who dye their lips, walk with a gay little wiggle. They could be spotted by one-eyed Jack on a foggy day in the Blackwall Tunnel. It gets more surreal. Concealed gay men wear silk suits and sit up at chi-chi bars with full-bosomed ladies. They also play golf. Anyway, I don't know. But it's full of, and the stereotypes continue through it. I mean, obviously, we can giggle now, but if you were a gay man in the closet in 1963, this is not what you want to see on the paper. And there are some horrible moments, obviously, as you can imagine. Particularly, I would say the worst moments in the collection are around HIV/AIDS. You see headlines like this. I'm not going to give them too much attention because they don't deserve it, but the championing of the tabloid media of views that are, I would think, possibly prosecutable now, hate crimes. And lucky as it was put together by gay white men, mainly, some incredible stories of gender nonconformity, early trans history in there as well. So you'll find stories, the fantastic story of Terry Brown from 1951. Assigned female at birth, went to the doctor, I'm a man. Doctor said, great, go for it. Probably a nicer treatment of trans people in 1951 than we're getting now. But anyway, that history is there and that's been added to since. So an incredible archive. But as I say, this gave me the excuse to start collecting at the Institute and started putting my mark on what we were collecting. They also didn't tell me, along with the press cuttings, were more badges than you would ever want. Everyone loves a badge, don't they? God, the community loves a badge. 50 trays of blood. No, I love badges. So you come in, you can find every badge you would ever want. And badges making a bit of a comeback. So we're getting badges in now as well. The Institute did buy a badge maker. It's now locked away. Someone was caught making, should we say, interesting badges with the Institute's logo on, not me, before anyone says anything, and dispersing them. But I don't need to talk to you about the importance of badges. You can say a lot wearing a badge without saying a lot. And a lot of the collections we get given as we talk about how we collect, people always have badges with their papers because it's something they've been proud to wear over the years. And I wish they'd bring the Pride badges back because they were great. And banners. They didn't tell me about the banners either, which was quite annoying. So we have more banners than you would ever want added to now. Age of consent, outrage banners, Hyde Park gays and sapphics. But don't ever ask for this banner if you come to the Institute, please. Who, why, when, what? I've never seen it up. I'm underneath it. I got hit on the head with a bit of brick as we unravelled it. But wonderful banner. So all this came in and let us start collecting. We now have also a library which started with this collection of around 70,000 books. Every book you would ever want, quite a few books you wouldn't want, particularly in the poetry section. Please don't, no more. But all the titles, academic works, fiction, pulp fiction, manifestos, gay guides, everything you could ever want book-wise, you'll find at Bishopsgate, and they still give me a budget to buy, which is good. So I don't have to buy out of my own pocket. I can buy on the Institute, which is great. And most importantly, we have a huge collection of journals, and the journals have been really important at the Institute. We add to these all the time. We have now over 2,000 titles. And one thing I don't need to tell you is we're always playing catch-up in the archive. Stories that aren't there, stories that need to be there, and the journals have been a wonderful way that we can be more representative of the diversity and the amazingness of the community. So we have journals from every part of the community you can imagine, huge buy journals, everything you can imagine, and now a huge collection of zines as well. And zines are very important because obviously they allow people to tell their own stories rather than having to get published. And the journals are incredible. All the titles you would want to see come together in Gay Liberation Front, Gay News, Pink Paper, etc. Quite wonderful, and I'm afraid to say the largest collection of gay pornography in the UK. Someone had to do this job, so I've taken it on for you all. I normally get a little round of applause at this point. Thank you. Thanks. It's a tough one, I'll tell you that. But important, I think, don't you? To record what turns people on. It's quite important in their sexuality. That's one of my excuses anyway. But also, one thing that comes back is the independence of the Institute. Because when I went to my chief executive and said, someone's given us a big stash of naughty magazines, she was like, great, wicked, get some more. Which I don't know is going to happen everywhere. And the independence as we go round this is something that's very important. We can take risks, we can collect stuff like this. But not only collect it in a celebratory way. So it's not put in a secret cupboard where you have to come in. If you come into the Institute, as Gareth will testify, you will see people sitting there reading Zipper magazine. All right? Academically, obviously. But it is incredible and has led to some of the most amazing moments in my Institute. As we come back and I talk about how we've democratised the archive, which I will in a minute, we do get people wondering all the time with stuff now. And I have to tell you very quickly the legend of Scotch Willie, which is one of my favourite stories ever. Promised you adventures, I'm going to give you adventures. People come in all the time, drop stuff off. Sometimes it's great, sometimes it's less great. You know, we do get a lot of people coming going, I found an old screw in the road, I think might be Victorian. You're like, thank you very much, we'll put that in the screw box over here. So when this 90-year-old gentleman walked in with a shopping trolley, got some stuff in here for the archive, I was like, this isn't looking good. Tartan, shopping trolley. I go, oh, take your time. He sat down for 10 minutes, started unloading carrier bags coming out. Oh, sandwich wrappers. There's my lasagna for tea, blah, blah, blah. Got to the bottom, big stack of porno magazines like that. Not what I expected to come out of that tartan. What's your name? Willie? Mm-hmm, of course it is. I said, oh, thanks for that, Willie. You know, you're very kind of you. You've tropped all the way up here to bring those in. I said, you know, any time you're passing, come and say hello. He went, oh, no, Stef, you must understand. This is a wee sample, the tip of the iceberg. 3 transit vans later, we'd cleared Willie's house. And what I particularly loved about that was not only it was a huge stash of pornos, I was literally chucking them in, but because he was of a certain age, he had a lot of the modern 70s, 80s, 90s titles, but he also had collections of magazines that weren't expressly LGBT magazines, which have been important to him. And in the collection, as well as titles that say proudly, this is a bisexual magazine, this is the Gay Liberation Front magazine, we have lots of magazines that have been useful for the community but aren't gay magazines. For example, he had more copies of muscle magazines from the 60s you would ever imagine. One called The Superman, the monthly magazine devoted to mental and physical culture. or a way you could look at Dick Prestwich in his pants without giving away the fact you might be gay. And we now have hundreds of these. Magnifique, Manorama, Man Around, Man Alive is my favourite one. But obviously, these aren't gay magazines, but they were used by the community to see what they wanted to see. Magazines like Films and Filming, which are stored in the LGBT section. Ironically, a magazine about films and filming. But the personal columns are unattached ladies, 6 other unattached ladies to enjoy film, Wednesday afternoon at mine. So these things become important. So I don't have to explain to you. So incredible stuff. And we've now gone on to collect and be proudly donated archives of most of the major organisations that have campaigned for LGBTQ+ rights in the UK. I'm not going to talk about these, you're very familiar with them. Organisations like Stonewall, Terence Higgins Trust, incredible histories in there of what these organisations have done, as well as individuals, Peter Tatchell, example, celebrities, Paris Lees, etc. has donated stuff. Lots and lots and lots of people, high-profile organisations. But as I mentioned, when I came to the Institute, I really wanted to collect slightly differently. So where I'd been at other archives, it was very much about this. It was about what have you done to achieve archive worthiness. To me, lived a life as an LGBTQ+ person is important enough to me. I would literally encourage anyone, my colleague said, don't do it, Stef, if there's 150 people, but I don't care. I encourage any of you and anyone who wants to put their own story to come in and document themselves in the archive. As a community that's not been able to do that for a long time, it's about time we did. And a community that's been talked about, we need someone that does that. So we now have that at Bishopsgate. And some of the most amazing things happen, as you can imagine, from collecting like this. I like to call it the democratisation of the archive. My colleagues will say, we agree, because they're quite scared of me, but also literally Stef will take anyone's old shit. As I said earlier, I've heard a rumour on the mill, people saying straight people have storage units, queer people have the Bishopsgate Institute, which is also true, but as I say, some of the best things have happened. Let's move forward a bit. So we get contacted all the time by places and people who got stuff they need to get rid of. A famous museum, National Museum, got in contact, never say it was, Science Museum, and said, we've got albums of a guy, we don't know who he is, we don't really care who he is, we're going to throw them away, do you want them? They're a bit boring. I said, yeah, I'll have them. But the best thing I went, we think he's gay. Couldn't resist it. I was like, why do you think he's gay? They were like, I don't know, I'll ask Jean when she's back on Monday. I went, oh, don't bother, just send them down, send them down. And they sent us 28 photo albums of this gentleman here, in the picture, camping out up there. A guy we managed to find out, a guy called Russell Watkin. These were going in the bin, but they were an incredible record of this man's life from the 1930s through to the 2000s when he passed away. He was in the war, Second World War. He went on, he became in the 1960s international salesman for Lyons ice cream, which enabled him to go around the world, Sardinia, crashing all the best parties, and quite literally having sex with everything that moved, which is documented in these photo albums. Let's just say in the 2000, Russell is still going strong. And these were the sort of thing that make my job really exciting, because they consider this not important. This is an ordinary life, but it's an extraordinary life. So we were very delighted to take these in and provide them with a home at the Institute, because they tell us a lot about this guy's life and life at the time. Slightly other surreal moments, as I say, people wondering all the time. Someone came in with this. This is my pulling jumper. I was, really? Whenever I wore this to heaven in the 1980s, I got lucky. I was like, okay. It's like sandpaper. But we got this person to write down the memories of wearing this jumper, what they did, the fun they had wearing it, and it now is proudly on the rack at Bishopsgate for you to come and feel and be amazed at. But quite importantly, it was incredible. He felt very passionate. The one thing he brought in was this. And stuff like this is coming in all the time, objects. When someone brings in their gay Monopoly, you tend to say yes as well. Once again, this person has held on to this. This is an American invention. They bought it in America. They brought it back to the UK. 1983, published to raise money for HIV/AIDS charities, saunas and bathhouses rather than train stations. You're led around the board by Ollie Gator at the top there, you can see. And obviously you don't go to jail, you become heterosexual, which is obviously the worst thing that could possibly happen to you. Taken off the market after 3 months by Monopoly, who sued it for copyright infringement. Nothing to do with it being gay, obviously. And just these things come in all the time. People wander in, which is so amazing. Someone walked in with their Uncle Bill's diaries one day. Quite wonderfully, they then looked over to me and said, he was gay. I think you'll be all right here. I think you'll be fine, yeah. Because actually, she didn't know we had LGBT. We also have a diary collection. But she said, oh, yeah, Uncle Bill, that's him there, crouched down. He lived with his partner, Doug, in a flat in Brixton from about 1941 to about 1972. I was like, what? As I mentioned earlier, these things do not come up very often. So I was very, very excited, and these are Bill's diaries. 1947, I got very excited at last. We have this amazing little glimpse in through this guy's life. I thought, better ever read. They are the most boring diaries I've ever read in my life ever. And I think rather ironically, I fell into that trap, 1940s gay men, it's all going to be Polari and secret liaisons. It's a record of a couple living in a flat. Doug has not cleaned his shoes, went to the cinema, came home. Just a wonderful record. It's a couple in love, just getting on with their lives. Could be 2 men, 2 women, 2 anybody. Incredible stuff. A lot of disappointed academics coming in to see those. I looked up 1967 in their diaries. Passing the Sexual Offences Act, didn't care. They were at the cinema that night, didn't even mention it. But to see if I can make you cry, Doug does pass away in 1971. Bill keeps on writing a diary every day and ends every single day with the same 2 sentences. Good night, Doug. God bless you. Really, really sad and really touching. But once again, the ordinary being extraordinary, and the fact that this has come into Bishopsgate, and the fact we're accepting this stuff and people know now to bring this is exciting. I nearly got the sack with the double bed. Let me explain this. I don't know if any of you have seen a film called Rebel Dykes. Yes, well done, well done. If you've not seen it, I think it's on 4OD at the moment, so you can go home and watch it tonight. About an amazing group of queer women in the 80s, 90s, lived in squats, did art, went to clubs like Chain Reaction, chained each other up, had lots of fun, rolled about in mud, have now gone on to be incredible famous photographers and artists. We're lucky enough to have a lot of their material at the Institute, but we were passed on the archive of one of the group, who unfortunately is no longer with us. They said, we want our friend to be recorded in the archive, and I was very happy to do that. So I went down to the house. He said, this is all Avi's stuff, the diaries, love letters, badges. I wish he was in the magazine once. Here, have that. Took all that in, filled up the boxes, and I was walking out. You've forgotten the bed. I tried to ignore this. You've got to take the bed. I'm not taking the bed. If you don't take the bed, you're not taking anything else, so make your mind up quick. I was quite scared by this point, so why have I got to take the bed? She went, that bed is a London lesbian icon. More women have had more... I'll take the bed. It's fine. The bed is now in our strong room. I was a bit unsure about this. I would say 10 women have come down to the strong room on the tours I do and gone, is that Avi's bed? To which I've gone, yes, and they all do the same noise. So I stand corrected. But on a serious note, we're very passionate about letting people record themselves the way they want to be recorded. Because I think, once again, as a community that's been talked about and not allowed to talk itself, it's very important that this takes place. And this being a more extreme example, but to their friend, the bed's got to be in there. We're doing an archaeon, it has to be in there. We talked about that, we've got the bed. And it's very important, and not everything also that we're taking in now is what I can traditionally consider an archive. So I've completely turned around what I was taught at archive school. There is an archive school where they say, 1, you've got special knowledge that can tell everyone what's important about their life. Bollocks. 2, you'll only ever deal with paper. Rubbish. Particularly where I want people to be able to put in what they want. I don't know your lives. I want you to tell me what should be in your archive. But also, not everyone has. I went round the room tonight and said, put one thing in the archive. It might not be, luckily, your 244-page prepared, typed up, acid-free paper memoir that you've prepared. It might be a wristband. It might be a pair of trainers that has been special in your life. So increasingly, we're being challenged at the Institute about what is an archive. What does it mean? And some amazing things have happened. Where the word has spread about the Institute, some moments have been quite powerful moments have taken place. I don't know any of you are aware of something called Operation Spanner. A few nods. So Operation Spanner was a court case in 1990. The Obscene Publications Squad rounded up these men for having a consensual S&M party and basically sent several of them to prison. Basically, they were brought up, a video was published, all put up in front of the court. The judge said, we all consented, we were all having fun. The judge said, consent is no excuse, you need to be protected from yourselves. And some of these men were sent to prison. We're lucky enough now to have archives of 3 of these guys here telling the story of what they went through for people to come and look at. But something quite incredible happened, and it made me realise that maybe we are doing something right. A young lady got in touch from Harwich in Bolton. And she said, oh, are you Stef? Yeah, you run the archives there? Yeah. She went, I've just bought a house in Bolton, our first house, a little bungalow, and we knocked down the bedroom wall, and behind the bedroom wall were 4 big wallets of negatives, bricked up in the wall. And she went, I went and did some research about who owned the house, and she found out it was this guy here, Graham Cadman, one of the guys who was convicted under this, who was so scared during this process, he'd bricked up these photographs in his wall at his house. So I'm thinking these are going to be, oh God. They're photographs of him and his friends cuddling, having a party, going on a trip. But he was so scared he had to do that. While she was actually at the Institute, she got a phone call, said, my brother's just knocked through the fireplace. And he's found a big wallet of love letters from Graham to his lovers, all torn in half, but kept. Incredible. And the fact she'd come to us makes feel we're doing something right, that we were able to get this stuff in and give it a home now and make sure he's remembered and the shit he went through is remembered. So, incredible bits. And it just keeps growing. If ever I get a gay archive in knighthood, let it be for this. Gay News, one of the most amazing newspapers. Every picture in there, it was like the Loch Ness Monster. Everyone would say to me, Stef, you need to find the Gay News photo archive. It's incredible. Every picture documenting gay life, LGBT life in Britain from 70s through to the 80s. But it was like the Loch Ness Monster. I saw it in Birmingham. I saw it in Liverpool, but I don't know what happened to it. I was like, oh, for God's sake. Found out it had been flooded. But I looked through the magazine, noticed every single picture was taken by someone called Bob Workman. Lucky for me, on Facebook, I have a friend who's an opera singer, and every picture of him, normally with his top off, was taken by someone called Robert Workman. I said, Simon, can you ask Robert Workman if he's Bob Workman? He was, and gave us 60,000 negatives of every picture he ever took on Gay News. An incredible record of life from when he was the photographer from 1974 through to 1983, full of pictures like this. This is Gay Pride in Huddersfield in 1981. Moved to Huddersfield, a club called the Gemini had been closed, so Pride was moved there in protest. Wonderful ones like this. Festival of Shite. I'm sure we're all familiar with the Cycle Sluts. And they came over to London in 1975, can you imagine? I think this was about 10 o'clock in the morning. But not only like entertainment, politics, Bob was also there capturing This Is the First Night of Heaven nightclub in 1979, going through the crowds, taking pictures of people. And I get these out, and the excitement they've caused amongst people who were there at the time has been really emotional and wonderful as well. Particularly these ones, I put these up, people are like, oh God, I'm in it. I can't remember going. And then they do normally, God, I was good looking. You're like, yes, you were, yeah. And wonderful sort of unseen moments. Bob was also at something called the Porchester Balls in the 1970s, which are early sort of drag, transgender, non-conforming events that took place where everyone would come, parade around in West London. So incredible bits. And we've added to our photography some probably about 1 million photographs now with Gordon Rainsford, who took photographs on from Bob Workman. This is Section 28 campaigning, Age of Consent campaigning, impact of HIV and AIDS, the campaigns around it, also the vigils, etc., wonderfully documented in the collection. And wonderful things like this. This is the canonisation of Derek Jarman, the filmmaker, by the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence. Wonderfully documented in pictures, and now the sisters have just given us their archive as well. The sisters, are we all familiar? Sisters of gay nuns, gay male nuns, basically all called things like Sister Jackamoff, things like this. And they would go around and canonise people who'd done incredible things for the community as well as fundraising, etc. We've brought all the nuns back together who, surprise, surprise, had fallen out. And we're going to have a blessing of the archive in April. So if all of you want to come and see, it's going to be the first Nunageddon, they said, of so God knows what's going to happen at the Institute that day. But do come and have a look, because it'll be a lot of fun, whatever happens. And clubbing once again. I don't know why I particularly like this picture. I don't know. But as I said, things about recording different histories and catching up with histories that aren't as recorded has been a very big important thing, particularly around trans history. And we are lucky enough also to provide a home to this collection, the Museum of Transology at the Institute, which is an incredible, powerful collection, and for a wonderful moment put together by someone who is trans, to start it. Wonderful curator and academic E.J. Scott, who's been and lectured here at the in the series, is quite incredible. Started in 2014, this collection of items documenting the community, allowing people to tell their own stories, so people can donate an item, fill out a tag why it's important to them. It's now about 1,500 objects at the Institute. Some things I never thought I'd ever catalogue. Stuff you could imagine, clothing, badges, poems, memoir, but also testosterone sachets, etc. But never thought I'd catalogue a Lynx Africa deodorant can. But there is a Lynx Africa deodorant can now in the collection. Well, actually not in the collection, it's now on display at the Wellcome collection in a glass case. It's quite wonderful. And all these quite incredible things. The person said, first product I bought when I transitioned. I was like, great, why Lynx Africa? Anyway, and we won't go to that. But also more surreal things, train tickets, stuff like this. Train ticket, which you think, you know, not the most exciting thing you've ever archived, but when you see the tag, it really brings it powerfully alive. Train ticket, this was the ticket I used to meet my Canadian girlfriend, the first time seeing her in person as her boyfriend instead of her girlfriend. An amazing moment. Pretty good. An earring, I'm giving away my blue stud earring. Very special to me as I've worn it to Brighton for Trans Pride, my first ever one, which is a great deal for me. And a lipstick, this lipstick was from my wonderful sister, first family member to accept and support my transition. So these ordinary objects become very powerful with the stories behind them. And once again, this is something we're very, very passionate about doing at the Institute. And it's an collection that tells its own story as well. As Gareth noticed when he came last time to the Institute, there are about 1,000 placards now in the collection. And it's a collection that's become one of struggle and defence now, rather than celebration when it started. We all know what's happening with the trans community, the attacks it's receiving. And this is being documented as well, so not great. And it's also a collection where we involve the community as well, so in cataloguing the collection. So not only affirming for people to come in and see these archives done, but also hopefully training up a whole new generation of trans archivists to record trans history properly, which is incredible. And another thing, I wanted the archives to be about fun as well. All the archives I'd worked in before, it was a struggle and angst and trauma, and this is very important. And as you can see, we have got archives at the Institute of Pride marches, of struggles around Section 28, etc., etc. But also LGBTQ plus people have fun, they enjoy things, they do wonderful creative things. So we now have archives of groups, London Gay Men's Chorus, performance groups like Trans Fabulous, Ducky. We have the archive of Stonewall FC, the first ever gay football team founded in 1991. Not political collections, but they are political, and sometimes more political than the political collections. I mean, I always like to say it takes a lot of balls, which is a terrible joke, to play in Stonewall FC against a heterosexual Sunday League team. It's a lot of courage to do that. And now stuff coming in about art as well, poetry. Every way people want to express themselves, I'm willing to engage in the collections. This is me with the artist Franco B. You can tell I'm quite impressed, a bit starstruck. I think he was a bit scared at this point. But incredible, not just the political with the big P, but about joy and fun and celebration as well. And yeah, some wonderful things. This is one collection from one person of their clubbing flyers. Thousands. God, you had a good time. They were like, I did. But more funny, this is one person's collection of sauna cards. So someone saunas all over the world. I was like, great, yeah. And it's just, I love it, the fun that was had and the sort of passion. And we also have lots of clubbing photographs as well. So if you did go to a gay club between about 1989 and 2007, you are in the archive. Let's hope you didn't take your top off. And luckily I avoided it, which was great. And it's a live archive as well that's keeping on collecting. I don't want it to be an archive that's historical, as in that was all yesterday, it's all gone. Because one, I'm not going to explain to you, you know, all the stuff that we've seen in the past is still relevant today, it's still inspirational. But I want to make sure that all the things that are happening now is collected as well. So we're having archives coming in from groups that are currently campaigning, currently working. Lesbian and Gay Support the Migrants. At every Pride we're there, whether it be trans Pride, local Prides, collecting photographs, placards, ephemera, etc. So it's an archive that's live, not just growing with old stuff coming in, stuff that's gone or, you know, happened years ago, but stuff that's being used. And some of these banners are taken in and out of the collection. So basically they'll come in and say, right, we've got another march on Sunday, can we borrow the banner? I'm like, yes, but don't use duct tape to stick it to the wall, you know, it's an archival item now. And it comes back covered in duct tape, obviously. But I'm not going to talk for much longer. I'm going to make some points at the end about what's behind it. But I talked also about risk and taking risks with the collection. And one of my most fabulous moments was back in about 2016, I received a call from a gentleman in Birmingham. He said, every archive's turned me away, but they said to call you. I was like, okay. And there's little, he said, I used to run a leather rubber fetish club for gentlemen in the Birmingham area for about 25 years, and I'm downsizing to a small bungalow in Edgbaston, and I've got a house full of shit needs getting rid of. Do you want it? I was like, yes, I do. Sent a van to Edgbaston, where he'd moved it. The archive comes in, the big box, I'm very excited. It's going to be a bit annoying. Open it, records of Midland Link Motorsports Club, the most intricate minutes I've ever seen in my life ever. Minutes of Velavant Preparation Subcommittee for Ken's birthday next week at the Green Man. Basically, this group that existed in Birmingham from about 1972 to 2005, called a motorsports club, because if you're booking the town hall, the Birmingham fetish men doesn't go down that well with the vicar, you know. So a motorsports club, hence you're all in leather, etc. I don't need to explain. Club for bisexual gay gentlemen who like to dress up and have fun. 2 weeks after that, I got another phone call. Are you Stef? Yeah, been told to call you. I used to run a leather rubber fetish club for gentlemen in the London area, and I'm downsizing to a small bungalow in Surrey, and I've got a house full of stuff. And I was like, okay, I'll send a van. 2 weeks after that, are you Stef? I used to run a leather rubber fetish club for gentlemen in Scotland, and I'm downsizing to a small... I was like, oh, okay. So not only do all the leathermen talk to each other, they also realise there's someone who's going to clear their house of all the old crap that they want to get rid of. And we started the UK Leather Archive at Bishopsgate Institute, and this is now wonderfully expanded out to cover kink experience amongst the whole community. So records of the SM Dykes, the Rebel Dykes as well. This is a wonderful donation. If you come to the Institute, this is on display in the old Victorian Library now, The Last Supper, as recreated by the Manchester Leathermen. The guy, Ian, in the middle, he's still clubbing, retired as president, so rather than give him a gold watch, they decided to recreate The Last Supper in photographic form. The stipulation was if we donate it to you, it has to be on public display. I was happy to do that. Always fun when I have a family history group coming round. Is that the Last Supper? It's the Last Supper, Bill. Look. Is that the flag of Venezuela? I'm like, yeah, it is, yes, let's move on. Just don't look at the table. So wonderful things like this. And once again, it's a collection which has led to some quite interesting adventures. I don't know if you remember the hottest day of the year. It's about 42 degrees a couple of years ago. On that day, I got an email saying, the Backstreet Club is closing. This hugely famous, legendary leather club in London. You've got 2 hours to come in and grab what you can. Me on my hands and knees in a gay leather club on the hottest day of the year, grabbing stuff. I think I did quite well, don't you? I managed to get a gibbet. The stocks, the leather jackets. They goes, you want some boots, Steph? I went, yeah, how many you got? 400? I'll take 2. And I even nicked the beer pumps. I don't know. Once again, we've had 4 reunions so far where all the guys have come back and gone, oh God, I was in that cage for hours. And it's proved an amazing thing for not only keeping the memory and things of this alive for a group of people who, to them, that was the place who they were, which has been incredible. I love, this was my favourite thing, someone came and goes, I ain't got much, but I've got this press cutting I kept. I was like, oh, okay, that's great. Added it to the Leather Archive. I said, all right, okay. So this is a public press cutting from the News of the World, 1979. One of my favourite things. In 27 years investigating corruption, these are the vilest men I've ever met. Let me take on Trevor Kempson, the reporter's voice, if I may. This is a shock report on the vilest men I've ever met in 20 years of investigation. My inquiries began some months ago when I heard in a West End pub about an organisation calling themselves MSC London. I bought some tickets, and with my dear friend Andrew, we left the late night throng on Friday night down Charing Cross Road to an alley with no name. At Lockup Garage number 37, we went down some steps, and our tickets were inspected by two men dressed head to toe in leather. It was 11:45 p.m, and we were about to witness the most horrifying scenes of homosexual depravity in a cellar packed by about 100 men. The atmosphere was frankly terrifying. Trevor stays for the rest of the night, though, and describes every single thing that took place. For us, thank good. He really went out of his way there. I said to this guy, oh, God, that's horrible. That must be terrible. He goes, yeah, I don't know what went on. I said, how did you get over that? He went, oh, no, Steph. The morning after this was in the paper, we had about 500 calls. When's the next get-together? Can I come? That sounds amazing. It was the best publicity we ever received, thanks to the News of the World. But once again, this has led to us opening up archives to all sorts of people and recording a community that I don't think ever thought was going to be recorded. And every opportunity to get all the guys in, I do, not only because of my personal taste, but we've had some amazing moments. And luckily, when we started this archive, it collided with London Leather Weekend 2017. So on Saturday, the Leather guys had the choice of a boat trip down the Thames or a visit to the UK Leather Archive. Luckily, a few chose to come to the archive, as you can see. Mr. Leather Italy brought his mum, which I thought was a very touching moment. But also, it was an incredibly powerful afternoon because I would say 2 or 3 of the guys left in tears because they were like, I never thought I would see this happen. I've come out twice, I've come out as a gay man, I've come out as a kinky person, and I never thought there would be anywhere that would record this history for us, and there was a lot of us. They spent hours looking through stuff and laughing and joking and also crying, and it was quite an incredible afternoon to see that happen and really reaffirmed about what we're doing at the Institute as something very powerful. And I think that most importantly, and one of the key themes that go through this to sort of end up, oh no, I must tell you one little story before I go on. Sorry, I do rabbit on. This was also quite a funny day because I didn't realise, Bishopsgate Institute is quite a wonderful place where all sorts of things happen. I didn't realise this had been booked the same day as the National Ballroom Dancing Heats in our Great Hall. So you can imagine the camp heaven I was in at this point as 50 geared up leather men came down the corridor this way and 50 sequined ballerinas came down the other way. I would like to say there was a mix-up, but there wasn't. It got even better when one of my colleagues ran in and said, Steph, one of the ballroom dancers has accidentally punched another ballroom dancer in the face just as they were about to compete against each other. Is there anyone with medical knowledge here? And I was like, oh. Lucky for us, one of the Leather men went, yes, I'm a cardiologist at St Thomas's Hospital, can I help? And ran down to the front. I followed slightly slower behind, came to the front and was greeted with one of the most sights that I will never, ever forget. Let me try and relay this to you. A fully geared up leather man holding a fully sequined ballroom dancer like this. It was National Gallery quality. I was like, you can't take a picture. It would always be there. But I won't talk for much longer because I think it's much fun to have a sort of discussion. But you get the themes that are really passionate about the Institute. One is that we're all important. Our stories are all important. I've worked in enough archives where, what did you do to get on? Why should we put this in? Having lived life as a community, it needs to be recorded. Plus, it also needs somewhere where people can record themselves rather than being told what's important about their lives. That was what happened all the time. At the Institute, we can take risks. We can collect things that maybe other archives don't want, or not don't want, but are about taking, unsure about taking. I think why I often think why we've suddenly become the biggest. I think that is definitely down to that kind of collecting, but also down to a lot about the place itself. If you come to the Institute, it's a place that oozes queer history. It's got flags. It's a place of safe space for people to come in. And when people come in and visit, thinking about depositing their archives, it's also a place they very quickly learn that they can also trust with their lives, which I think is very important, and something I've been very conscious of collecting as we do, that people are giving their lives over, giving their stories, and it's very important to build that trust with people who deposit. And we do other things that archives don't do. If you deposit stuff, you keep ownership of it. A lot of archives won't do that, which is quite useful when, you know, am I going to hand these diaries over to you? Can I take them back? You can take them back anytime you want. So that's quite important as well. But I think real fundamentally what I wanted the archive to be is a celebration of the community rather than an archive as what I'd seen, which is, you know, dead things in boxes, hidden away, put on shelves. Every opportunity to get out this stuff, to share it with people I do, hence I've come up to Newcastle, not because I've been wonderfully looked after as well, but I want you to come and experience this and be as inspired as I am by this stuff every day, because it is incredible, it's powerful, and the stories are there to be celebrated. They're there, stories of amazing people, amazing things they've done. For example, with the kink guys, someone from another library went, we've got stuff about kinky people. I was like, brilliant. This was the welcome. I said, yeah, but you look at it as a psychosexual disorder. At the Bishopsgate, people like to smack each other's bottoms, and it's amazing. And they have a great time and lots of fun, and it's brilliant. And it's a wonderful history. And it's affirming history that makes people who like to spank bottoms now go, I'm normal, I'm great. So this is what has really inspired me to do it at the Institute. It's building up all the time, there's stuff coming in. It's a growing collection. We've just been given lots more rooms before anyone asks, are you running out of space yet? And we do digital stuff before anyone asks that as well. A lot of archives coming in now on memory stick. Not as exciting as a box of old stuff, but I'm getting more and more excited by WordPerfect documents as time goes on. But I will sort of shush now because I've got a feeling Gareth will probably give me some lovely tough questions to answer. But you've got the themes that are going through it, and all I implore to you is come in, because also it's an open space. You don't need to book, you don't need to bring your mother's birth certificate, do 50 press-ups, you can just wander in and experience all this history, and I want you to do that. So come along and see us, and hopefully I've lured you in a non-creepy way to come and experience stuff. So I will shush. I know I've probably done like 20 minutes. Long enough. So thank you very much for listening. I hope that was fun.